All right, guys. So in the last video, we left off on doing product number 8. Should they sell it at a special price? So let's go through it together. So it says product A is normally sold at $9.60 per unit. A special price of $7.20 is offered for the export market. The variable production cost is $5 per unit. An additional export tariff of 15% of the revenue must be paid on all export products. Now that's important because you need to factor that into your numbers. And assume there is sufficient capacity for the special orders. That's also important because if there's no capacity to produce these additional balls that's needed or that wants to be exported, then this makes no sense, right? So let's look at how this all plays out. Now, as I mentioned in the last video, if you decide to reject this offer, then there's nothing to consider. The revenue per unit would be zero. The variable manufacturing cost will be zero. There's no tariff to pay because you're not exporting anything. Therefore, your income from per unit would be zero as well. Now, if you decide to accept the offer, which is alternative number 2, these are the things we must consider and calculate. So what is the revenue per unit? As it mentioned in the stance or the prompt here, it would be $7.20. Now, our variable cost per unit here is $5. Here it is. Variable cost per unit is $5 per unit. Now, we also need to consider the export tariff. Now, that export tariff it says it's 15% of the revenue. So what you're going to do is $7.20 times that 15% in export in revenue. And so that will come out to $1.08. So therefore, if we decided to move forward, we are standing a chance of gaining $1.12 per unit for accepting this offer. And as I mentioned in the last video, again, most times you're going to accept the offer as long as you have sufficient capacity and that it doesn't affect your like overtime and your normal production and things of that nature. Okay. What I want to end this chapter with is setting normal product selling prices. So in doing so, in order to achieve in the long run, let me start with this. Price is very important. And how companies and organizations come up with price is a long-term strategy. Above anything, you need to make sure whatever you set your price to, it needs to cover the cost of manufacturing that product, right? So if it costs you $10 to make it, you're not going to want to sell it for $8 because you're going to be coming up short, right? You need to make sure that you set that price high enough to cover your costs, and then anything above that to make some kind of profit. So that's what this point here is. We need to cover the cost plus make a profit. Now there's 2 different methods in which we can do this. There's demand-based and competition-based. Now this is where your economics class comes into play. And if you haven't taken economics yet, or you're going to take it coming up, this will all make sense. So demand-based, setting the price based on demand is exactly what it sounds like. You're gonna, it's that supply and demand, the demand that's needed, that's how you're gonna set your price. And if it's competition-based, such as a really good example of is Tide and Gain, right? So what usually happen is when Gain decrease their price, Tide would likely increase their price as well, because it's competition based and you want to stay as close to the competition as possible so you can so customers will likely buy your product as well. So can you imagine if you're Gain or Tide or whatever, but if Gain dropped the price by $5 and Tide stayed at their price, more customers will flock to Gain than Tide because their price is lower. So it's again competition based market price. Now there's also this cost plus method, and so here the cost plus methods are looks at product cost, total cost, and variable cost. And so when you're looking at product cost, it's the normal selling price equals the cost amount per unit plus any markup. A markup is basically you're saying, okay, not only do I need to consider the cost of this product, but I'm going to mark it up to make sure I cover, you know, salaries and administration expenses and delivery expenses, and I want to make some kind of profit for my business as well. And then you have the total cost, variable cost as well. So this is a really good example of what I mean by the markup approach, or the product cost approach. So again, you have the cost of the product, which, remember, that includes direct labor, direct material, and factory overhead. Remember, factory overhead can be variable and fixed. So that was all of the costs associated with producing a product, or manufacturing a product. But then part of the markup would be considered your administration expenses, selling expenses, and your desired profit, right? Those salespeople that's helping sell your product, we got to pay them a commission. We also have to pay, you know, the CFO and the CEO and all of those people. And then we still need to make some kind of profit off of this product. So if you guys can think way back to the first week of class, we talked about the Apple iPhone, the X, right? And so we saw that they were making like $500 per iPhone. At least that's what we thought. But we have to consider, what is their markup to account for not only the product cost, but all of these costs with it as well. Okay. All right, so with that, thank you all. It's been a great semester. I am really proud of each of you. Whether you joined me during COVID-19 or this was just a regular session, I am just honored for you guys to be a part of this experience. And as always, if you have any questions, please, please, please reach out and let me know. I am here to serve you guys and walk alongside of you guys as best I can to help you understand the material. So until then, I look forward to maybe seeing you guys again in person, maybe on campus when this all is over. But from the bottom of my heart, I want to say I thank you. I applaud you for still being committed to your education. All right, so see you around.